I remember the first time I found her, tucked away in a dusty cardboard box at the far end of the attic. The sunlight barely reached the corners, only a pale glow flickering across her porcelain face. Her eyes were wide, almost too aware, and for a moment I could have sworn she was studying me back. The air smelled of old cedar and something faintly metallic like rust, and the wooden floorboards groaned beneath my steps. I lifted her carefully, brushing the cobwebs from her dress, and heard a faint humming, almost like a lullaby, rising from somewhere just beyond the walls. The attic felt smaller, tighter, as if it were leaning in closer to watch. I should have put her back. I should have left the box untouched. But I didn't. And that night, when the wind rattled the windows and shadows stretched into shapes I didn't recognize, I understood why some things are meant to stay hidden. That's when I heard the whisper. My name. The attic was colder than I remembered. Dust floated in thin beams of pale light, drifting to the wooden slats like slow, heavy snow. The air smelled of cedar and something older, something faintly sweet, like dried flowers left too long in a box. In the far corner, half swallowed by shadow, sat the doll, porcelain skin chipped around the cheeks, eyes too bright for how dim the room was. I almost didn't recognize it. The same doll my grandmother kept on her shelf, the one I used to avoid looking at when I was small. Now it stared back at me, as if it remembered. Its dress was yellowed and stiff. The lace had gathered dust in the folds, but the doll's face, smooth and unblinking, looked untouched by time. A crack ran from the corner of its mouth down to its neck, like a smile that had tried too hard. The floorboards groaned under my feet. I stepped closer. The air grew colder with each breath. There were scratches on the floor around it, thin lines, looping and jagged, circling where it sat. I knelt, tracing one with my finger. Fresh. Something had moved recently. The window above rattled. A whisper of wind slid to the broken frame, brushing my neck like the tip of a cold finger. I turned. Nothing but the hanging dust, shifting in silence. When I looked back, the doll was angled slightly to the left, just enough to notice. Its glass eyes were no longer meeting mine. I blinked hard. The attic creaked again. The doll stayed still. But I could feel it now, that quiet tension, the kind that hums just beneath the skin, like the moment before a breath. Held too long. The light dimmed as the sun slipped lower. Everything began to blur into soft grays and deeper shadows. The corners of the attic melted together until only the doll remained sharp, white, perfect. A faint rustling came from behind the old trunks. I thought it was a mouse, but the rhythm was too slow, too deliberate. Footsteps, light ones, pausing between each creak of wood. My throat tightened. The air felt heavier now, pressing against my chest. I turned again, slower this time. The space behind me was empty, only the long pull of silence, stretching thin. Still, I knew I wasn't alone. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Old houses breathe, I said. They shift and sigh with the cold. But then, a soft tap, right behind me. I didn't move. I could feel the small breath of warmth against my ear, close enough that I thought maybe it was mine. The attic bulb flickered once, then dimmed to a faint orange glow. Shadows deepened in the corners, and for a moment I thought I saw something move, a flicker of white fabric, dragging softly across the floorboards. When I turned back to the corner, the doll was facing me again, its head tilted just slightly higher, as if curious, as if waiting. I stared until my eyes burned, until the room stopped breathing. Then the bulb went out. Only the faint gray of dusk filtered through the cracks. I could still see her, faintly, her pale face floating in the dark, those eyes catching what little light was left. I took one step back. The floor sighed under my weight. Another step, and something scraped behind me, the tiny, delicate sound of porcelain sliding against wood. I didn't look. I couldn't. The air felt colder now. So cold it stung my throat when I swallowed. And from somewhere deep in the dark, a faint, fragile creak, like a neck turning, like a head tilting to watch me leave. I backed down the attic steps, each board crying under my shoes. The door was half open. I hadn't left it that way, but I didn't stop to close it. Downstairs, the air was warmer. Still, almost safe. But above me, the faintest sound continued. A soft, rhythmic dragging. Tiny porcelain feet crossing the floor. Then silence. Just the hum of the house. Breathing again. The faint echo of my own heartbeat. And in the corner of my mind, that pale smile. Still cracked. Still watching. It started 3 nights ago. The storm had passed, but the house still hummed. Quiet, electric, like something alive. I couldn't sleep. The candles burned low, trembling in their glass. And on the dresser, the doll watched me. Her glass eyes were cloudy, but in the flickering light, they almost looked wet, as if she'd just cried. I told myself it was just the candlelight moving, just the shadows, just the wind brushing against the old window frame. But when I turned my head, her gaze followed. I froze. The flame bent sideways, as if breathing with me. The air felt heavier near her, warmer, then cold again. I tried to look away. But something about those eyes, the way the pupils seemed deeper than they should be, pulled at me. Outside, rainwater still dripped from the roof. Each drop echoed inside the quiet, counting the seconds between my breaths. Then I heard it, a whisper, soft, like fabric brushing against itself, coming from her corner. I sat up slowly, watching the shadows move along the wall. Nothing shifted, nothing human. Still, the whisper came again. It wasn't words. Not yet. Just a soft humming sound, caught between breaths. I whispered back, "Who's there?" But the air swallowed my voice before it reached the dark. The candle sputtered. Wax spilled over its edge. And in that brief dimness, I thought I saw her blink. My chest tightened. I stepped closer, bare feet cold against the wooden floor. The smell of wax and dust mixed in the air, thick and old, like the attic this doll must have come from. I reached out. My fingers hovered over her porcelain cheek. Cold, too cold. Then a pulse, a soft vibration beneath the skin, not a heartbeat, but something trying to move, trying to breathe. I pulled back, but the chill followed, sliding up my arm like smoke, settling at the back of my neck. The doll stayed still. Her lips curved slightly now, as if she'd almost smile when I touched her. I stepped back again. 1, 2, 3 steps. The whispers grew clearer. This time they were words. Low, familiar. It was my name. Whispered once. Then again. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. Something was watching, not from her, but through her, like her eyes were only a window, and something else was leaning close from the other side. I blew out the candle. The room fell into a heavy dark. Still, I could see her shape, outlined by the faint blue light leaking from the window. Her head tilted. The whispering stopped. Silence spread, thick and uneven, pressing against my ears. Then the house creaked. A slow, dragging sound beneath the floorboards. Footsteps that weren't mine. I stood perfectly still. My breath felt too loud, too alive. The eyes gleamed faintly now, catching what little light there was, reflecting not the room, but a face. Not mine. A pale shape hovered inside the reflection, just behind me, close enough that I could almost feel it breathe. The whisper returned, right next to my ear this time. "Stay." I turned, fast, nothing there. When I faced the dresser again, the doll was gone. Only the empty lace cloth remained, edges lifting slightly from a breath that wasn't mine. The candle, though I'd blown it out, flickered again, faint and blue, and there she was, sitting now on the chair by the window, her head tilted the other way, eyes still glimmering. Rain tapped against the glass beside her, each drop slower than the last, like time was hesitating. I whispered, "What do you want?" The flame stretched tall. The air thinned. Then her tiny porcelain hand lifted, barely, as if to point behind me. I didn't turn. I couldn't. A shape moved in the reflection instead, long, thin, bending where no body should bend. The whispering swelled, filling the room like water. I could hear more voices now. Not one, many, all speaking in breathless tones. Some angry, some weeping, all buried beneath that same word. "Stay." The candle went out again. The silence after felt heavier than the dark. When I woke, if I even slept, The chair was empty, the window open, and on the floor, 2 faint prints. Tiny, barefoot, leading toward the bed. I still feel her eyes on me now, somewhere behind the dark, waiting, listening. And every night, when the candle burns low, I hear it again, that whisper, soft, close, right beneath my breath. My name, and then the word I've stopped trying to answer. Stay. The attic smelled of dust and cedar, old wood and forgotten air. The single bulb above me flickered, its chain swaying gently, though I hadn't touched it. I'd only meant to find the box of photographs, but something else waited for me. In the far corner, under a thin layer of cobwebs, sat a chest, dark oak, edges split with age. Its brass lock had dulled to green. I shouldn't have noticed it, but it hummed, a soft vibration in the stillness, low, steady, almost alive. It crawled through the floorboards, up my legs, into my chest. Like a pulse that wasn't mine. I crouched beside it. My fingertips brushed the lid. Cold, too cold for this warm evening. The hum grew louder, almost eager. The attic light steadied for a moment. Everything else held still. Even the air felt waiting. The lock didn't look strong. A twist, a pull, the metal moaned. The chest shivered under my hand. Then it sighed, a soft exhale, as though something inside had been holding its breath for years. My throat tightened. I lifted the lid. Inside, a single doll. Porcelain, perfectly seated, dressed the color of rainwater. Its glass eyes stared straight up, catching the thin light. I could see my reflection inside them. Tiny, distorted. The humming stopped. Everything went silent. The house, the bulb, even my breath. Only the faint crackle of the ceiling boards remained. The doll's head tilted just slightly, as if something unseen had nudged it. I told myself it was a draft. There was always a draft up here. Still, I took a step back. My heel pressed against a soft patch of wood, a hollow place. It echoed under me, dull and wet. Behind me, a shift. Something brushed against a curtain of hanging cobwebs. A whisper of movement. Too slow to be a mouse. Too heavy. I turned quickly. Nothing. Only the long shape of the rafters. And dust, drifting in the air, disturbed. My palms were damp. The bulb flickered again, once, twice, then steadied, weaker this time. The chest still lay open. The doll unmoving. But the air around it had changed. It felt crowded, like someone else had entered the attic. Someone standing just behind my shoulder. The back of my neck prickled. I could feel breath, faint, uneven near my ear. When I turned, there was only the dark corner, and the smell of something old, something sweet, rotting fabric. I looked back at the chest. The doll's arms were lower, hands resting differently than before, closer together, like they were hiding something. I hadn't seen it move, but I was sure it had. The humming began again, softer this time, coming from beneath the chest, like the floor itself was vibrating. I knelt, pressed my ear to the boards. The hum grew stronger, pulsing in waves, and then a faint knocking. Once, then again, slow, measured, from underneath. I stumbled back. The bulb flared white, then burst. Glass rained down, scattering in the dark. The attic sank into silence. Only the pale light from the window remained, thin, milky, full of dust. My heart beat too loudly. Every pulse echoed against the walls. The chest lid had fallen shut. No hum now, no breath, just a faint creak of settling wood. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, just an old house, an old chest, a trick of nerves. But as I reached for the attic door, I heard it again. That sigh, longer this time, almost relieved. I froze, my hand still on the doorknob. Something shifted behind me, slow, scraping across the floor. The chest had moved, just an inch, but the doll was no longer inside. The air thickened, the way it does before a storm. Static crawled across my arms. I couldn't see her, but I knew where she was, somewhere behind a curtain of shadows, watching. The humming started again, distant now, somewhere lower in the house, as if it had slipped through the floor. I opened the attic door and stepped into the stairwell. The hum followed. A faint tremor in the banister, like a hand sliding along it. Down the steps, down into the dark. The chest stayed open behind me. The smell of cedar and old cloth clinging to my clothes. Halfway down, I looked back. The attic light was gone, but in the faint glow from below, I saw her reflection, not the doll, mine, in the brass lock, still hanging from the chest, swaying side to side. And for a second it was smiling. The fog came in slow that night, through the cracked attic window. Thin at first, then thicker, like breath pressed against glass. I remember the way it moved, not drifting, crawling, filling the corners where the light didn't reach. The floorboards were cold beneath my feet. Each plank sighed softly under my weight. The air, damp, heavy, tasted like dust and something old. Something that shouldn't have been remembered. The doll sat where I had left it, on the wooden chest, beneath the window, its dress pale, frayed at the edges, its hair tangled with cobweb threads. But something was wrong. It looked smaller, like it had shrunk inside itself. And yet its eyes, those tiny glass eyes, seemed brighter, reflecting the fog, reflecting me. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't look away. The fog pressed harder through the cracks now, thin fingers a mist curling over the chest, wrapping around the doll's small frame. The smell of wet would fill the air, and beneath it something sweet, like rotting flowers. There was no wind, yet the curtains swayed. Soft, slow movements, as if someone was breathing behind them. A laugh broke the silence. Faint, distant, childlike. It drifted through the fog like a ripple across still water. I froze. The laugh came again. Closer this time. Higher. Almost playful. But there were no children here. Not for years. The attic felt smaller suddenly. Walls leaning in. The air pressing against my chest. Every breath shallow, as if the fog was stealing pieces of it. I took one step forward. Then another, each one heavier than the last. The wood beneath my feet groaned in protest. Something deep in the house shifted. Like it was waking up, the laughter stopped. The fog hung still. And for a moment, all I could hear was the faint hum of the night, that in my own pulse, thick, slow in my ears. The doll's head tilted, just slightly, enough to catch the light from a window. Those eyes shimmered, blue turned to white, cold and alive. I whispered its name before I could stop myself. The sound vanished into the mist, swallowed whole. Behind me, the door creaked, a soft, long moan of wood and rusted hinges. I didn't turn. I couldn't. There was movement, not from the doll, from the shadows on the wall. They stretched long and strange, curling across the floor like black vines, twisting toward me. They moved slow, almost human, almost curious. The air buzzed faintly like static. My fingers tingled. The shadows brushed my skin, cold and dry like ash. I tried to step back, but my legs refused, each muscle heavy, locked in place, as if the fog itself was holding me still. The laughter returned. But this time it wasn't distant. It was right beside my ear, warm breath against my cheek, and a whisper, too soft to understand. The doll's head turned fully now. It faced me. The corners of its small painted mouth cracked wider. Not a smile. Something else. The fog thickened, swallowing the window, the chest, the floor. All I could see were those eyes. Two pale stars burning through the gray. And then silence. Not the kind you hear. The kind that presses inside your skull. That hums just beneath thought. I closed my eyes, counted my breaths. 1, 2, 3. When I opened them, the fog was gone. The window was closed. The curtains still. But the doll sat closer now, at the edge of the chest, hands folded neatly in its lap. Its eyes no longer glowed. They just stared. Glass, empty. I told myself it was a dream, that I'd imagined it all. But when I turned to leave, my feet stuck to the floor, a thin layer of moisture, fog, still clinging to the wood. And in that pale reflection beneath me, I saw another shadow, not mine, standing right behind me. The room was colder than before. Dust clung to the curtains like thin gray webs. Even the air felt stale. I stepped inside. The old radio in the corner gave a low hum, soft but alive, like it had been waiting for me. I hadn't touched it. No one had. But the red light on its dial glowed faintly, pulsing in and out like a heartbeat beneath glass. The hum deepened. Static rolled out, a whispering tide that brushed against the edges of the room. Then it began to shift. Slowly, gently, the static folded into a melody, a lullaby. Off-key, slow, like a music box turning underwater. My throat tightened. I knew that tune. I couldn't place it, but it tugged at something deep and soft inside me. The doll sat in a chair by the window, its porcelain face turned slightly toward the radio. A thin layer of dust covered its hair, but I could see one pale blue eye beneath it, watching. The lullaby wavered, as if the singer's breath had caught. Then it steadied again, low and syrupy. The doll swayed, just slightly, back and forth. There was no breeze, no movement in the air. The floorboards creaked under my feet. Each step made the radio flicker, like it was reacting to me. I whispered, "Stop." The lullaby didn't stop. It grew softer, almost tender. Then came the giggle. It started in the walls, a faint, high sound that rippled through the plaster, as though the house itself had a mouth. It echoed once, then again closer. Behind me, I turned slowly. Nothing, just a hallway. Still, the air felt heavier now. The lullaby looped, the same 4 notes again and again, each time slower, each time sadder. My pulse matched its rhythm. 4 beats, silence. 4 beats, silence. I felt it in my chest, in my jaw, behind my eyes. The doll tilted its head. A strand of hair fell over its cheek. I thought I saw its lips part. Barely, the giggle returned, right by my ear. I froze. The lullaby faltered for the first time. A long, drawn breath filled the pause, like someone exhaling through the speaker. Then a voice, soft, broken, hummed along with the melody. It wasn't the same voice as before. This one was lower, closer. My skin prickled. The corners of the room felt wrong, too deep, too shadowed. I stepped back toward the door. The radio hissed, its hum rising into a crackling whine. The doll fell still. Its reflection in the window didn't. In the glass, its head turned slowly toward me, a fraction of a second late. I blinked. It was still again. The lullaby broke apart, notes warping, melting into static once more. I reached for the dial. My fingers trembled. The metal was warm, like skin. I turned it off, or tried to. The switch didn't move. The radio hummed louder. The walls seemed to breathe with it. I could feel the vibration through the floor, up my legs, in my teeth. Then silence. No static. No lullaby. No hum. The red light on the dial flickered one last time, then went dark. For a moment, the air felt empty, relieved. Then I heard it from behind the chair, a faint whisper. A child's voice barely formed. "Don't stop the song." The radio clicked. The lullaby started again, quieter now, almost tender. The doll's head faced forward once more, but its reflection still watched me. I stepped out of the room, closed the door, and still the melody followed, through the floorboards, through the hall, through me, a slow, static lullaby, never ending, never tired, just waiting. It's past midnight. The air feels heavy again. The house settles, slow and tired, like it's breathing with me. The bulb in the hallway flickers. A pale hum seeps through the walls. I shouldn't be awake, but something feels off. I hear a soft click above me. The attic door. It shut itself. I didn't touch it. The sound still hangs in the air, sharp, metallic, final. I freeze beneath it, bare feet pressed to the coldwood floor. The silence after feels deeper, like the house is holding its breath. I can feel the dust in my throat, the faint scent of wood rot and old paper. For a moment, I tell myself the latch slipped. Maybe it was a wind, but the window's been nailed shut for years. Another sound, a soft dragging, like something being pulled slowly across the attic floor. It stops, then nothing. I stare at the ceiling, the faint outline of the attic door, the string dangling down, still swaying. I whisper into the dark, Just a breath of sound. Hello? No answer. Only the tick of the hallway clock, echoing too loud. I step closer, each floorboard giving a tired sigh beneath my feet. My fingers brush the pull string. It's colder than it should be. Something inside me says don't. But I do. The door lowers an inch, just enough to creak. The air spills down, stale and dry, like something long forgotten. The attic yawns open, and I can see nothing. Only a smear of pale moonlight through the far window. Then I notice it. The doll. It's sitting in the corner, exactly where I left it. Or it should be, but it's closer now. Half a step closer. Facing me. Its glass eyes shimmer in the thin light. Its hair, tangled, gray with dust, moves slightly, as if breathing. I blink. My chest tightens. It hasn't moved, but it's not where it was. Another sound, a faint scratching, like fingernails tracing wood. I can't tell where it's coming from. The walls? The floor? Inside my head? The attic feels smaller now. Lower, like it's pressing down. The air hums. A soft vibration I can feel in my bones. I take one step back. The string brushes my shoulder. It feels like a hand. My breath catches. Something in the dark shifts. Not movement. More like attention. I shouldn't be here. The doll is right beneath the beam now. Its head tilted slightly, mouth half open, as if it's listening. The scratching stops. The quiet after feels wrong. It's not empty. It's watching. I reach for the door, try to pull it shut, but the string won't move. It's caught on something above, or someone. Then, click, the latch closes itself. Right in front of me, the attic door seals shut, cutting off that cold breath of air. I step back again. My hands won't stop shaking. The hall feels darker than before. Every shadow looks deeper, softer at the edges, like it's waiting to move. The house creaks again, a long sigh through the walls. And underneath it, barely there, a whisper. It sounds like my name. I don't move. I don't breathe. The bulb hums once, then fades to black. Silence. Only my heartbeat remains. And in that silence, faintly from above the ceiling, the attic door clicks. Open again. It's past midnight. The hallway feels longer tonight. Colder. The house shouldn't be this quiet. Not when the wood still breathes. Not when the air moves like it remembers something. I walk slowly, bare feet on old planks. Each step echoes, a soft groan from the boards beneath me. But then there's another sound. Steps. Following. Slow, deliberate. Too careful to be mine. I pause. The silence folds in around me. My own breath feels too loud. Then, again, 2 steps. Measured. Waiting for mine to start before they continue. I glance back. The hallway stretches behind me, lined with pale light spilling from a single bulb. It hums faintly, flickering against the old wallpaper. There's nothing there, just emptiness, and that feeling that emptiness is watching. At the end of the hall, a small wooden shelf leans against the wall, and on it the doll, porcelain skin, cracked at the corner of its mouth. Eyes painted too bright, too alive. It's been sitting there since I moved in. I don't remember unpacking it. I take another step forward. The board sighs under my heel. And beneath that sigh, a faint echo, like another heel pressed down right after mine. My chest tightens. I move slower, deliberate, testing it. Step, pause. Step, step. It copies me. Not perfectly, off by half a breath. As if whoever it is doesn't quite know how to be human anymore. The air feels heavier now. Each breath tastes of dust and something old. The kind of stillness that only exists where things shouldn't be moving. I reach the shelf. The doll's head tilts slightly to the left. Or maybe it was always that way. I can't remember. Its glass eyes catch the light, reflecting 2 small, trembling circles of gold. Behind me, the floor creaks again. No movement for me this time. It moves on its own. Just one board. Long, slow, as if someone is leaning their full weight on it, peering over my shoulder. My throat feels dry. I want to turn, but I don't. Not yet. I can feel the faintest stir of air on my neck. Cold, rhythmic, almost like breathing. The doll's lips are parted. Barely. Enough to make me wonder if they were always like that. My voice breaks before I even realize I'm speaking. Who's there? No answer. Only the bulb's faint hum and the quiet settling of something unseen. The reflection in the doll's eyes shifts. Not because I move. Because something behind me does. I turn. Too fast. The bulb flickers once, then steadies. The hallway is empty. But the air isn't. It's thicker. Like something invisible brushed past me. I can smell the faint trace of earth. Wet soil. Rotting wood. Somewhere beneath the floorboards, something knocks. Once. Then twice. The rhythm doesn't match my heartbeat. But it's trying to. I take a step back. The echo follows. Then another. Closer. The bulb dims again, washing the walls in pale amber and shadow. My reflection in the doll's glass eyes is trembling, but there's something else beside it now. A darker shape, taller, leaning. The bulb flickers violently. For half a second, I see legs that aren't mine, bare, pale, standing just behind me. The light steadies. They're gone, but the boards still creak, as if weight still presses down on them. As if the house is holding its breath. I step backward again, slowly, my heel brushing the cold floor. The unseen footsteps follow. Closer each time. Imperfect. Learning. By the time I reach my room, my hands are shaking. The doorknob feels damp, as if someone else just touched it. I close the door softly. Lock it. Lean my head against the wood. Silence. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then, from the other side, a faint drag of fingers across the surface. Not scratching, just tracing. They stop by the keyhole. I watch the thin slit of darkness there, waiting. My breath shivers out of me. Then, a whisper of movement on the other side. A small exhale. The boards creak one last time, just outside my door. And then, silence again. Almost peaceful, until I realize the doll isn't on the shelf anymore. It's sitting against my door, head tilted, listening. The room was colder that evening. I hadn't opened a window, but the air moved, thin, unsettled. Dust hung in the pale light, like something breathing. The cracked mirror stood against the far wall. I hadn't noticed a break before, a fine split across the glass, like a thin vein frozen mid-beat. When I stepped closer, the floorboards gave a tired groan. The reflection swayed slightly. Not with me, but on its own. The mirror showed more of the room than it should have. It captured corners that didn't exist behind me, edges of furniture I'd never seen, and something faint, a small, pale shape lingering just over my shoulder. I told myself it was the light, that the glass was old, warped. But when I moved, the thing behind me didn't. It stayed perfectly still. My breath caught. The mirror clouded with it, a small white bloom across the glass, and through that haze, I saw it more clearly. A doll's face, porcelain, expressionless. Its eyes, wide and wet like they'd been polished. Its mouth, painted with a soft red bow. But the longer I stared, the more that paint looked wrong. Too dark, too uneven. I turned around. The room was empty. Only the bookshelves, the chair in the corner, the smell of paper and cold metal from a heater that hadn't worked in years. When I faced the mirror again, the crack had deepened. It reached across the glass like a black thread being pulled from both ends. And behind that fracture, behind me, the doll's face drifted closer. I didn't move, not even when the whisper began. It came soft, like someone breathing through teeth. A single word, stretched too long to understand. The kind of sound you feel in your spine more than in your ears. I thought I heard my name in it. Then again, closer. The reflection trembled. For a moment, it wasn't me standing there. It was someone wearing my shape, shoulders tilted the wrong way, mouth slightly open, eyes glassy and still. When I lifted my hand, the figure lagged behind, a heartbeat late, and in that half second, its smile twitched. I stumbled back. My elbow hit the bookshelf, and the book fell, pages yellow, edges damp. It landed open to a torn photograph pressed inside. A girl with a doll in her lap, both looking straight ahead. The doll was the same. Same pale cheeks, same uneven red mouth. But the girl's eyes, they'd been scratched out. The mirror hummed behind me, a faint static, like electricity crawling through the frame. And in that low hum, I could feel my pulse matching it, echoing to the floor, through the air, through me. When I turned back, the reflection was gone. Not gone, emptied. The room in the glass had no me, no shelves, no chair. Only fog. And the doll. It floated where I should have been, its face tilted just slightly, like it was listening. I whispered something. I don't remember what. An apology, maybe, or a prayer. The crack split further. A thin line reached the edge, and the mirror sighed. A slow exhale, like relief. Something moved behind the glass. A shadow shifting just beyond the fog. Then a hand, small, pale, pressing against the inside of the mirror. Fingers tapping, slow and even. Once, twice, 3 times. Each tap left a faint, dark smear, as if the surface weren't glass at all, but water. I backed toward the doorway. The air grew heavier, colder, my breath turning sharp and visible. The smell of metal deepened, like rust waking from years of sleep. Then silence. The mirror cleared. The reflection returned. Only me now. Just me. But my eyes, they looked wrong. A shade darker. A hint of glassiness. I leaned in, close enough to feel the chill leaking from the crack. And there, behind my shoulder again, a blur of white, a mouth curve and that same soft, uneven smile. The whisper came one last time. Fainter now. Almost kind. It said, "Stay." I don't remember leaving the room. Only the quiet after. The way the floorboard stilled. The way my reflection followed me from every other surface. In the window pane. The doorknob. The silver edge of a picture frame. Each one catching something I couldn't see when I turned. Each one holding that faint, patient face waiting. And tonight, as I write this, the mirrors stand where I left it. Covered with a sheet, but not quiet. Every now and then, I hear a faint tap from underneath the cloth. Once, twice, 3 times. The rhythm matches my heartbeat. And in the dark glass behind the fabric, something keeps breathing with me. The clock strikes 12. Each chime feels slower than the one before it. Longer, heavier, as if the house itself is listening. The air doesn't move. It's thick, heavy with dust and the faint scent of wood polish. Somewhere in the dark, something shifts just enough to make the floor groan. Then a laugh, soft, faint, like someone remembering a joke they were never meant to tell. It rolls down the hallway, brushing against the wallpaper. I freeze, the kind of stillness that hurts to hold. The doll sits on the shelf across the room, porcelain face, chipped at the chin. Its glass eyes reflect the weak, yellow light from the lamp. But they don't look at me. They look through. Its tiny hand is raised, slightly tilted, almost a wave. I tell myself it's the way I left it, but I don't remember leaving it like that. I glance at the door. It's open, just enough for a whisper to slip through. I don't remember leaving it open. The laughter comes again, closer this time. Still soft, still almost playful, but wrong. It carries no warmth, only echo. My breath fogs faintly in the air. Cold, the kind of cold that crawls into your sleeves and stays there. The wallpaper seems to ripple under the lamp's glow. Shadows stretch, pulling themselves long across the floorboards. I can't tell what's real anymore, what's shadow, what's shape. The doll's head tilts. Just a fraction. Enough for its hair to fall over one glassy eye. Static hums faintly in the silence, not from the air, but from behind my ribs. I whisper, "Who's there?" No answer. Only that faint laughter again. Fading now, as if it's drifting back into the walls. The hallway beyond the door looks darker than it should. Black, but breathing. Every instinct tells me to close the door, but my legs won't move. They feel pinned beneath the weight of the house's silence. The clock ticks once, twice, then stops. The quiet that follows isn't peace. It's waiting. Something rustles from the hallway. Fabric dragging along wood. Slow, measured. My eyes go to the mirror above the dresser. Its surface is dim, rippled slightly from age. Behind my reflection, a shape, small, bent at the knees, like a child crouched in play. I blink. It's gone. I turn back to the shelf. The doll is lying down now, face turned toward the door. Its raised hand is gone. Resting flat beside it, palm open, the laughter returns. Only this time, it's not faint. It's sharp, like it's right beside my ear, breathing between each giggle. I stumble backward. The lamp flickers, then steadies. Shadows crawl up the ceiling like spilled ink. The air smells faintly of burnt dust and old perfume. Something sweet but spoiled. Something that used to belong to someone else. I whisper her name, the name written on the doll's back. Clara. The house exhales. Every board creaks at once. The laughter stops. For a moment, there's only the sound of my heartbeat, a slow, heavy drum in the stillness. Then a whisper, soft as breath against my neck. Don't close the door. My throat locks. My fingers tremble. I can feel the space behind me, the pull of it heavy and alive. The lamp hums once more, and in that pale light, the walls look wrong. Long streaks of shadows slide upward, as if gravity had forgotten what to do. I take one step toward the door. The hinges moan. The hallway breathes again. And from somewhere deep inside it, a faint childlike laugh. Not distant, not echoing, but waiting. The clock doesn't move. The air doesn't shift. And the doll sits upright once more. Hand raised, still waving. The door creaks wider on its own, welcoming something I can't see. I don't remember leaving it open, but I can't bring myself to close it now, because I think whatever's out there has finally remembered my name. The attic smells like dust and old wood. Late autumn light leaks through the cracks in the roof. Everything feels tired up here, even the air. I came to look for the box of winter clothes. I didn't expect to find the dolls. They sit in a row on a shelf, small porcelain faces, chipped in gray. Their glass eyes follow the light. But not me. Still I feel seen. When I move, the floor sighs beneath me, and somewhere fabric stirs, a faint rustling, like silk brushing against silk. I freeze. The window is shut. No breeze, no open space for air to move. But the sound continues, soft, gentle, patient. It circles me once, then fades. I exhale too loudly, and dust blooms in the pale light. The dolls don't move. Yet the smallest one, the one with the cracked cheek, seems to lean closer. Her dress trembles, barely, like someone breathing just behind her. I step closer, heart beating in my ears. The air changes, colder, thinner. The smell of old fabric, faint soap, and something sweet rotting underneath. My hand hovers near the doll's dress. The lace flutters before I touch it. Tiny threads brush my fingers, cold as cobwebs. The rustling grows again. All around now, dresses moving where there are no bodies. I whisper to myself, just the house settling, just air shifting through old gaps. But I don't believe it. Something trails along my ankle, a brush, light as cloth, then gone. The silence that follows feels too aware. I glance toward the far corner. It's darker there, almost pulsing with shadow. I can't see the shape inside it, but I feel its weight. The dolls tilt, slightly, as if listening. I back away, step by slow step. The floorboards creak, warning me with every move. The rustling follows, soft, delicate, purposeful. Then it stops. Only my breath remains, and the faint ticking of something unseen. For a moment, I think it's over. Then I hear it again, not around me, but beneath, from under the attic floor. A faint brushing, dozens of small fabrics moving, whispering against wood. I kneel listening, my ear close to the cold plank. Something moves underneath, slow, dragging. The smell changes again, like old perfume spilled on damp cloth. Sweet, stale, wrong. I whisper, who's there? My voice breaks in the silence. Nothing answers, but the smallest doll, the one with the cracked cheek, has fallen forward. Her porcelain hands rest flat against the floorboard, as if she's listening too. A long pause, then a faint reply, not words, but movement. Fabric shifting closer. The board beneath the doll shivers. A thread pushes through the crack. Thin, frayed, red. I stumble back. The attic feels alive now, humming, breathing. The light fades without warning, swallowed by the air. Rustling fills the dark. Dresses brushing past me. Sleeves tugging. Hems gliding over skin. Each touch colder than the last. I try to move, but the air thickens, holding me still. Whispers flutter against my ear. Not voices. Just the sound of fabric folding. Soft. Endless. Something brushes my cheek. Lace maybe, or a hand that no longer feels like one. Then silence. When I blink, the light has returned. The attic looks the same. Still, the dolls sit perfectly in place. Even the cracked one. Upright again, hands folded. But on the floor near my feet, a small strip of lace lies alone, freshly torn. I don't go back to the attic now. Yet at night, through the ceiling, I hear them again. The soft rustle of tiny dresses, moving where no one walks, waiting for someone to listen. The attic was smaller than I remembered. The air was dry, powdered with years of dust that clung to my sleeves, would groan under each step, quiet but alive, as if the house breathed with me. In the center, a single candle flickered. Its tiny flame swayed, throwing light against the slanted beams above. Shadows moved with it, soft at first, then sharper. Shapes that didn't belong to me. The smell of melted wax lingered in the cold air. It mixed with something faint. Old fabric, rotting paper, a hint of something sweet, like perfume gone stale. I tried not to breathe too deeply. Boxes were stacked high in the corners, their edges sagging. Labels faded, names forgotten. I traced my hand across one, feeling the ridges where ink had bled through. It felt almost warm. The candlelight shimmered against glass eyes. A doll sat near the far wall, dressed in lace that had yellowed over time. Its head leaned slightly to one side, watching. I told myself it was just a flame, that the light played tricks on porcelain faces. But when the wick steadied for a heartbeat, I saw the doll had tilted further. The air pressed in tighter. A soft creak came from the rafters above, followed by a slow, dragging sound, like something shifting its weight in the dark. I held still. Every inhale felt too loud. The candles shivered, and the shadows began to move again, not like before. This time they reached. The doll's eyes caught the glow, pale and wet as though they blinked. Its lips were parted, just enough to draw a breath that wasn't mine. I wanted to look away, but the moment I did, I heard it, breathing. Not the faint hum of the house, not wind through the cracks. Breathing, slow, uneven, right behind me. The flame bent low, pulling toward the far corner, as if something unseen had leaned in close. My skin tightened, a coldness crawling from the base of my neck down to my spine. I turned. Nothing. Only walls smeared with shadow. Only the candle trembling. The breathing didn't stop. It moved from behind to beside me, then somewhere above. A faint rustle of fabric brushed past my ear. The doll was facing me now. Its head tilted, so far its neck had cracked. Porcelain dust shimmered in the light. Tiny, glittering motes suspended in air that felt too still to move. I stepped back. My shoulder brushed a box, and it shifted. A whisper of paper sliding open, a draft escaping from within. The candle's flame stretched, fighting against the dark that thickened around it. I could see every pulse of its light against the walls, every fleeting outline. A hand here, a figure there, gone as soon as I blinked. The breath came closer. Warm now, almost touching. Then, the draft. A sudden sweep of cold through the attic, sharp and full of dust. The flame bent once, twice, then died. Darkness swallowed everything. The walls vanished. The air went still. Only the faint smell of wax remained, and a quiet exhale that wasn't mine. I waited for my eyes to adjust, but the dark stayed solid, like the room itself had disappeared. And somewhere ahead, in that heavy black, a soft crack, porcelain shifting against wood. The doll had moved again. I didn't see it, but I felt it, close enough to touch. And in the silence that followed, something leaned near my ear and breathed in. It was late. The house had gone still again. Only the wind pressed against the glass, soft and uncertain, like it was listening. I sat on the wooden floor of the old room, surrounded by the faint scent of dust and soap. The boards were pale from years of sun, worn smooth where someone had once played. In the corner, the doll waited, small, porcelain, Her dress faded to gray. Her eyes caught the lamp's glow, just enough to glint, just enough to look awake. That's when I heard it. A whisper, thin, high, and close. A child's voice. It came from beneath me, on the floorboards, a trembling hush, like someone hiding in the dark. I froze, every muscle tightening, as the air around me seemed to shift. It wasn't the house settling. It wasn't the wind. The voice said something soft. I couldn't understand it. A breath between syllables, like a lullaby cut short. I leaned closer to the floor, pressed my ear against the wood. The voice stopped. Silence stretched long enough for me to hear my own pulse. Then faintly it giggled. I pulled back fast, the back of my neck prickling. The doll's head had tilted slightly. Her gaze no longer to the wall. Now it faced me. I whispered into the stillness. Who's there? Nothing. Only the faint hum of the lamp. Then another whisper. My name. It came so gently that for a moment I thought I had imagined it. But the boards beneath my knees trembled. A small vibration. Rhythmic. Almost like breathing. I pressed my hand flat against the floor. Something cold brushed back. Not from below, from inside. I jerked away. The air turned heavy, colder. It smelled faintly of damp soil and iron. A scent I hadn't noticed before. The child's voice came again, this time clearer, closer. It wasn't calling now. It was asking, why did you lock me in? I backed toward the wall. The lamp flickered. Once. The doll's shadow stretched, impossibly long, bending across the boards toward me. The voice rose in pitch, pressing against the edges of my hearing. Every syllable scraped like fingernails against wood. Let me out. My breath fogged in the air. My hands trembled. I couldn't find the words. Then the whisper turned into a small cry, muffled as though through cloth. Something moved under the floor, slow, dragging, following the lines of the boards toward me. I tried to stand, but my legs refused. The sound, no, the presence, stopped just beneath my feet. And then nothing. Stillness. A silence, so thick it rang in my ears. I waited, every heartbeat stretching the moment further apart. Then 3 knocks from under the floor, soft, precise, as if someone were testing the wood. The doll had fallen onto its side, but her eyes, they still gleamed in the faint light. I reached for her, I don't know why, and the moment my fingers brushed the porcelain, a whisper slipped right beside my ear. Don't touch her. It wasn't below anymore. It was next to me. I turned sharply. Nothing, only the curtains swaying, the faint rustle of fabric brushing the windowsill. But the air felt charged now, thick with something unseen, a pressure behind the silence. Then a faint handprint appeared in the dust beside me, small, child-sized. The fingers pressed deep, then faded, as though they had never been. I could still feel where something had touched my arm, cold and damp, like a hand pulled from water. The whisper was all around now, circling, layered, laughing, then crying, then whispering again, until it wasn't one voice but several. The boards creaked. The doll's porcelain mouth parted, just slightly, enough for me to see the glint of darkness inside. I backed toward the door. The air pulsed. A final whisper followed me out, softer than breath, but sharp enough to cut through my chest. Stay and play. The door shut on its own. The latch clicked. Outside, the hallway felt warmer, safer somehow, but when I turned to look back through the crack beneath the door, a faint light shimmered beneath it, and from behind that wood, the whisper came again, distant now, but still clear. A child's giggle, then silence, and the soft creak of the doll's head turning. It's been raining for 3 days. The kind of rain that turns everything gray. Even the air feels damp when I breathe in. The house smells like dust and old fabric. Every room hums faintly, like it's remembering something. I keep wiping the fog off the windows, but it keeps coming back. Tonight, the power flickered. Just once. Long enough for the dark to breathe in. I was sitting in the corner room, where the wallpaper peels in slow curls. That's where the doll sits too, porcelain face cracked down the middle, dressed stiff with age. It used to belong to someone. I can almost feel that, a small pulse of memory in its empty eyes. When I turned my head, I felt it, a pressure. Fingers, light but certain, pressing on my shoulder. Not cold, just real. I turned around slowly. There was nothing, no one, but the weight lingered, a ghost of touch that wouldn't lift. The doll's head tilted then. A soft, dry click of porcelain against wood. Its glass eyes caught the lamp's dim light, reflecting a tiny, shaking version of me. The floor creaked once. Then again. The rhythm was too steady to be random, like footsteps pacing behind the walls. I froze, listening. The pattern repeated. 3 steps, pause. Then 4 more, always stopping near the corner of the room, where the ceiling dips low. I whispered into the silence. No answer came back. Just that steady hum again, the one that lives between the walls. I thought about leaving, opening the door and walking into the hall, but the air around me felt thick, heavy like a curtain drawn too tight. I could smell something faint, old perfume, powdery, floral, and almost kind. Then the whisper came, soft, stretched thin by distance. My name. It wasn't loud. It wasn't close. But it knew me. I stood up. My legs trembled. The pressure on my shoulder returned. Firmer this time, like something urging me to stay. The lamp flickered again. The doll's shadow stretched across the wall, longer than it should have been. It reached the doorframe, and then, past it, I stepped back. My heel brushed against the rug, and I felt another shift beneath it, as if a hand was pressing upward through the floorboards. The boards creaked in answer. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, pause. Echoing the same rhythm as before. My breath caught. The air tasted like metal now. Rain hit the glass harder, and each drop sounded like a tapping finger. I wanted to close my eyes, but something in me knew not to, because when I blink, it moves. The doll, it's closer than before. Just an inch, but closer. Its hands are still in its lap, but the right one points ever so slightly toward the empty space beside me. I don't move. The whisper comes again. My name stretched out, trembling. And then, words I can't make out, half a breath, half a sigh. The lamp dies. Darkness folds over everything. And in that dark, I feel it. Hands. Cold, weightless, but unmistakably there. Sliding down my arms. Across my back. Over my ribs. As if tracing the shape of me. I can't scream. Only breathe. Shallow. Uneven. Listening to the creaks that answer my pulse. Then silence. The pressure lifts. The hum stops. The rain outside slows to a whisper. I light a candle with shaking fingers. Its flame quivers, and I see it, the doll sitting exactly where it was. Untouched, but its tiny porcelain hand is now resting on the arm of the chair where I sat. Almost gently, I back away, step by step until I reach the doorway. The boards sigh under my feet, like something disappointed to see me go. I leave the room, but I can still feel that weight on my shoulder. Not gone, just waiting. The hallway smells of damp wood and burnt wax. Every door I pass seems to breathe a little. I glance back once. The candle's light stretching thin across the floor. In the corner, the doll's head tilts again. Slowly this time, like it's watching me go. And just before the flame goes out, I hear it. That faint rhythm returning through the boards. 3 steps, pause. Then 4, moving closer. I whisper into the dark. Please stop. But something unseen presses gently against my back, guiding me forward, as if the house itself doesn't want me to leave. It was quiet in the attic, the kind of quiet that presses against your skin. Dust floated in the pale light. Thin beams in the single window cut through the air, soft, golden, dying. I'd come up here to sort through old boxes, leftovers from another life. My grandmother's handwriting was still fading across the labels. Keep. Don't open. I didn't remember ever seeing the small wooden box before. It sat apart from the rest, near the far wall, under a hanging sheet. When I pulled the cloth away, something shifted in the air, like the attic exhaled after years of holding its breath. The box was dark, stained around the edges. Its brass clasp was crooked, half bent. I touched it, and it was cold. For a moment, I thought I saw it move. Just a small twitch, a slide across the wood grain. But when I blinked, it was still. My fingers hesitated on the latch. Inside, a doll. Porcelain face, cracked at the temple. Its glass eyes were fixed upward, cloudy, almost wet. A strip of faded red ribbon tied around its neck. I let the lid fall closed again, and turned away. Behind me, something scraped softly. A dry, dragging scrape, faint but steady. I froze. The air felt heavy, close. When I turned back, the box had shifted. Not by much, just a few inches closer to me, but enough that the dust trail beneath it was freshly disturbed. My breath caught in my throat. I waited, listened. The house settling somewhere below, a faint hum through the floorboards. Then another scrape, like tiny porcelain fingers brushing against the wood. I took one slow step forward. My hands were trembling. The lid had lifted slightly. The ribbon was sticking out now, caught between the edges. It moved, almost as if the air itself was tugging it inward. I knelt, lifted the lid again. The doll wasn't lying where I'd left it. It was sitting upright, facing me. Its eyes, clearer now, caught the light. A glint, almost a reflection, though the window was behind me. The attic felt smaller. The walls pressed closer. I swallowed, my throat dry. The box was still in front of me, but my mind kept saying, step back. I tried to, but something about those eyes held me still. The scraping came again, faint this time. Not from the box, but from the corner behind it. Darkness pooled there, thick and slow. It looked like shadow had weight. I took another step back. The floor groaned beneath me. The doll tilted slightly, just enough to make the light shift across its face. I didn't hear it move. It was just different. Closer to the edge of the box now. The ribbon had fallen away, curling like a shed skin on the wood. I whispered something, maybe a prayer, maybe my own name. It didn't sound like my voice. The air grew colder. Dust stirred around my ankles like a low fog. I reached forward one last time, slow, careful, and pressed the lid down. The latch clicked, soft, final. For a long while I just stood there, my ears filled with the hum of silence. Then I turned toward the stairs, and stopped at the edge of the light. Another box sat waiting, identical. Its lid trembled just barely, as if something inside had taken a quiet breath. The attic went still again, but I didn't wait to see if it would move. I went down the stairs, slowly, never once looking back. And behind me, just as my hand touched the door, I heard the faintest scrape, like porcelain dragging across wood. The night feels heavier than usual, thicker, like the air itself has weight. My room is small, too small. The ceiling feels closer when the lights go out. I can almost feel it pressing down. The window is open a little, just enough for the cold air to drift in, bringing with it the scent of wet earth and rust. The street outside is silent. No cars, no wind, only the faint ticking of the clock above my head. I turn onto my side. The sheets are cool against my skin. The pillow smells faintly of detergent and something else, something faintly metallic. My eyes stay closed, but my ears don't rest. Somewhere in the hallway, beyond my door, someone is breathing. Slow, measured, inhale, exhale. At first, I think it's my own echo. The way sound sometimes folds back on itself in the dark. But it's not. The rhythm doesn't match mine. It lags behind, like someone is listening to me breathe and trying to copy. The air in my throat catches. I stop, hold my breath. The hallway continues. Inhale, exhale. Too close, too human. I open my eyes. The ceiling is pale gray in the faint moonlight. Shadows from the curtains sway gently on the wall. And there, on the nightstand, the doll sits. Porcelain face cracked along the cheek. A small split where the mouth should be smiling. Its glass eyes catch the light, reflecting tiny points of silver. It shouldn't look alive. But tonight, it does. The breathing stops. I wait, every muscle tight. The silence hums against my eardrums. My own heartbeat feels too loud, like it's trying to fill the quiet. Then a new breath, closer, right outside my door. The handle doesn't move, though it doesn't creak. Only that quiet inhale, that patient exhale. The doll faces the door now. I swear it wasn't before. My mouth goes dry. I reach slowly for the lamp. My fingers brush the metal base. Cold, unforgiving. I pause, and the breathing pauses too. We're listening to each other, waiting to see who moves first. I count 1, 2, 3, and turn the switch. Light floods a room, warm and sudden. The hallway is empty. The door still closed. The air still. The doll's face looks harmless again. Just painted eyes. Just glass. But I can still hear it. That faint inhale. Exhale. Not from the hall now. From inside the room. The lamp flickers. Once. Twice. Then darkness again. My chest tightens. The air feels wrong. Like someone else is sharing it. The breathing is steady. Wet. A little ragged now. I reach out blindly. My fingers brushing fabric. Not the sheet. Something rougher. Cloth. Cold and old. I pull my hand back. The breathing stops. A moment later, something exhales against my ear. Warm. Close. I flinch, sit up too fast. The mattress dips beside me. Like someone else is there. The doll has fallen. Its porcelain face turned toward the floor. I don't remember touching it. The breathing begins again, but this time it's beneath the bed. I can hear it pressing against the wood slats. Slow and steady, as if the darkness itself is alive down there, watching me. I can't move. The air smells like dust and something damp. Each breath I take feels stolen, borrowed from whatever is hiding below. I slide my legs closer to my chest. The sheets whisper as they shift. The breathing stops again, and I realize, so as mine, for a long time, there is nothing. Then the faintest scrape, nails against floorboards, dragging slow, deliberate lines. The doll's cracked head tilts upward, as though listening too. I want to scream, but the dark presses against my throat, soft, heavy, patient. A shape moves under the bed. Too low to see, too near to pretend away. I close my eyes, count each second between breaths. Try to match its rhythm again. Inhale, exhale, inhale, but the last one doesn't come. Only silence and the faintest whisper of fabric. As something climbs slowly onto the mattress beside me, the sheets dip, the air stills. I don't open my eyes, because in the dark, something else is breathing now. The room breathes quietly. The air feels still, almost held. Moonlight spills through blinds in narrow lines, painting pale bands across the ceiling. I lie awake, eyes open, waiting. The shadows move when I blink, slowly, stretching, like ink dragged by invisible fingers. They reach across the white paint and begin to take shape. Hands, dozens of them, long, trembling shapes, flickering with every sway of the curtains. The doll sits below them, propped against the dresser, her porcelain face turned slightly upward, smiling. That smile, it never fades, even when the light shifts, even when the air grows colder. The ceiling looks alive, arms crawling, twisting, reaching for something just beyond the edge of sight. Sometimes I think they know I'm watching. A creak interrupts the silence, soft but heavy, like the weight of someone climbing wooden steps. One by one, no stairs exist in this house. Not anymore. The sound continues, a slow rhythm, closer each time. The kind of noise that doesn't echo. It just presses into the air, right behind my ribs. I pull the blanket to my chin. The fabric brushes against my mouth, warm, damp with my breath. It muffles the tiny tremors in my voice as I whisper to no one, "Please stop." Another creak, and then silence. The kind that hums, so loudly it hurts. The shadows on the ceiling have stopped moving. They hang perfectly still, palms open, fingers curled, like waiting. I can smell something faint, dust and something sweet like old perfume. It drifts from the dresser, from where the doll sits. Her glass eyes catch the moonlight. A tiny reflection, sharp and wet, almost like she's crying. But when I blink, it's gone. My throat feels tight. I tell myself it's the wind, that it's just light and tricks and sleeplessness. But I can't convince my heartbeat. It keeps tripping over itself, uneven, fast, then slower. The shadows begin to move again. One stretches farther than the rest. It crawls down the wall, slow and deliberate, over the dresser, across the floor. The doll tips slightly to the side. A soft click as porcelain touches wood. Her smile widens. I feel something brush the edge of the blanket. Not weight, just movement, like air being pulled. My fingers twitch beneath the covers. The moonlight flickers. Something passes in front of the window. A shape too close, too still. I can't see it clearly, only its outline through the blinds. Shoulders. A head tilted, listening. I stop breathing. The shadows on the ceiling twist again, but now they point, every one of them, toward me. My skin feels electric, cold under the sheets. I press my back into the mattress, trying not to move, not to draw attention. But the doll falls forward. Her head hits the floor with a dull crack. Porcelain fractures like ice. Inside the silence that follows, I hear something new. Not footsteps this time. Breathing. Shallow. Uneven. Just above me. The ceiling seems closer than before. Heavy and low. The moonlight fades as if swallowed. And in that soft gray dark, the shadows lower their hands. They stop inches from my face. I can almost feel the air tremble between their fingers and my skin. The whisper comes next, faint, but inside my ear, like someone speaking from the pillow. You shouldn't look up. I can't move. I can't even close my eyes. Because if I do, I'll lose a line between them and me. The ceiling seems to breathe again. The cracks between plaster widen, black lines pulsing. The shadows slip inside them one by one, retreating into the dark. The moonlight returns slowly, washing pale light across the floor. The doll lies broken, half her face gone. The air is still. My blanket is cold now, damp where I gripped it too long. I listen for the stairs, for breathing, for anything that reminds me I'm not alone. Nothing comes, only that silence again, thick and heavy, almost alive. The blinds sway softly, though the air is still. And on the ceiling above me, where the shadows once reached, a single handprint remains, faint, pressed into the plaster, fingers long and thin. Watching me, it was a still night, no wind, no reason for anything to move. The air felt pressed, heavy and still, like the whole room was holding its breath. The candlelight shivered across the walls, thin and pale, reaching only halfway into the corners. That's when I saw it, the doll. It hung from the beam where I left it, old cloth body, cracked porcelain face. It had always stayed still before, always, but now it was swaying, slowly, side to side, barely moving, yet enough for the shadows to bend with it. I froze. Every breath scraped my throat like sand. There was no draft, no open window, and yet the doll kept moving, steady, like something unseen had touched it first and never stopped. The rope above it creaked softly, rhythmic, measured, a lullaby in reverse. And then I heard it, footsteps, faint, hollow, just behind the walls. Each one landed between the doll's slow arcs, as if something was pacing with emotion, keeping time. The sway, the step to sway again, perfectly synchronized. My heartbeat grew loud enough to drown out the rest. But even through that, I could hear them, dragging a little, bear saws on wood, coming closer. I didn't want to look. I told myself not to. But the corner of my eye caught movement, tall and wrong. A shadow. It stretched from the corner, swallowing the edge of the candlelight. Its shape too long. It reached the ceiling before it reached me. I blinked, and it grew. The candle sputtered once. The flame bent toward the doll, and the swaying stopped. The silence that followed didn't feel empty. It felt full, packed with something waiting to breathe. I took one small step back, and something brushed my arm. Cold, not like air, like skin that had forgotten warmth. I jerked around. Nothing, only the curtains moving gently, as though they were breathing too. The footsteps had stopped now, but I could still feel them, each one echoing beneath the floorboards, a dull memory of movement. The doll began to sway again, only this time it didn't move gently. It swung with weight, like something was hanging beside it. My chest tightened. I could see the rope stretch slightly with each motion, and the air smelled wrong. Dust, rust, and something faintly sweet, like dried flowers left too long in a closed room. I wanted to leave. Every muscle in my body screamed to, but I couldn't move. I couldn't even blink properly. My eyes locked on the doll's cracked face. It seemed to be looking back. Its painted eyes, glazed and chipped, caught the candlelight in a way that made them shimmer, like wet glass. And as it swayed, the light blinked across its surface, almost like breathing. I whispered to myself that it was nothing, that would expand, floors creak, shadows lie. But then the shadow in the corner leaned forward. It didn't step. It didn't rise. It just tilted, as though gravity itself was bending toward me. The air around me grew colder. My breath fogged faintly in the light. And from somewhere near my ear, not in front, not behind, I heard a quiet exhale. Slow, shallow, human. The rope creaked again. Once. Then silence. When I finally looked up, the doll was still, perfectly centered. Its head tilted slightly now, as if listening. My arm, burned where the cold had touched it. A faint mark had formed, small, like the brush of fingers. I backed away, one step at a time, until I reached the doorway. The floor didn't groan. Even my own steps made no sound. I should have run. But something in me wanted to stay, to understand what had been moving when the air did not. So I stood there, staring at the figure's shadow on the wall. And in the faint, flickering light, it swayed once more, slowly, softly, as though saying goodbye. I waited for the candle to die. It never did, but the shadow stayed. The attic was colder than I remembered. Dust drifted like slow snow in the beam of my flashlight. The air felt still, too still. I had come here searching for something I couldn't name. A reason, maybe, a memory. The wooden steps groaned beneath me, each one softer than the last, as if the house had grown tired of holding itself together. I reached the old trunk in the corner. Its hinges resisted, then gave in with a sigh. Inside, folded letters, yellowed and frail, tied with a ribbon the color of faded ash. My fingers trembled as I untied them. The ink was pale, almost erased by time, but the handwriting was careful, urgent. Don't let her see you read this. The first line stopped my breath. I turned toward the corner of the attic. A small porcelain doll sat propped against a box. Its white dress was gray with dust, but the glass eyes still glinted under the light. I told myself it was only reflection, only the beam of the flashlight. Still, it felt like it was waiting. I looked back to the letter. The paper whispered as I turned each page, a dry, crackling whisper that seemed to fill the space between the beams and the rafters. She listens through walls. She remembers who forgets her. I swallowed hard. The words were trembling in my hands, as if the paper could feel what I did. Then a soft tap, behind the wall to my right. I froze. The attic walls were thin, but there shouldn't have been anything behind them. Not air ducts, not pipes. Another tap, slower, closer. The doll's head seemed to tilt. I blinked, but it was facing me now. I closed the letter, pressing the pages flat against my chest. The air felt heavy, like it had learned how to breathe on its own. For a long moment, I listened. Silence. Then a faint rustling, like paper sliding over wood. I turned the flashlight toward the trunk again. The remaining letters had come loose, their ribbons untied, fluttering open one by one. Ink shimmered faintly on their surfaces, as if it was still wet, still being written. I leaned closer. The words were forming themselves, letters looping and trembling under invisible hands. You shouldn't have read them. My throat tightened. The flashlight flickered. When it steadied, the doll was gone. The space where it had sat was marked only by a pale oval in the dust. I stepped back, my heartbeat slow but hard, echoing like footsteps under my ribs. A soft tick, tick. Tick began behind the wall again, faster this time, almost like fingers tapping impatiently. I whispered without knowing why, "I'm sorry." The tapping stopped. Complete stillness. Then a sigh. It came from the other side of the boards, low and breathy, like someone leaning close to listen. My flashlight dimmed again, its beam shrinking to a trembling circle. The edges of the attic blurred, the rafters melting into gray. I opened the letter once more, desperate to read. Maybe there was something I'd missed, something to undo it. but the words were gone. The paper was blank, except for faint indentations, like someone had pressed too hard while writing. The air behind me shifted. A soft exhale brushed my ear. I turned slowly. Nothing. Only the pale glint of the doll's eyes from the far corner of the attic again, where the light didn't reach. She was watching. Still, I backed toward the stairs, each step creaking in protest. The letters fluttered on the floor, like small pale wings. At the threshold, I looked back one last time. The attic had gone silent. The doll hadn't moved, but the papers were no longer scattered. They lay neatly stacked again, tied with that same ribbon, tight, perfect, untouched. As I closed the attic door, I could still hear it. That faint whisper, not through the walls this time, but through the wood itself, repeating the same 3 words over and over until the sound faded into the quiet of the house. You read them, you read them, you read them. It was almost evening when I went back to the attic. The air up there always felt still, like the house was listening. Dust hung in the slant of dying sunlight, soft and golden. Every breath felt thick, slow, as if the air had been sitting there for years. I could hear the faint hum of the old bulbs, the kind that flicker even when they're off. The doll was gone. I had left it by the trunk yesterday. I was sure of that, but when I looked across the room, it was standing by the cracked window instead. Its pale dress brushed against the glass. The head tilted, slightly, as though it was watching something outside. I took a step closer. The floorboards answered with a long, dry creak that echoed through the rafters. A smell like old linen and dust filled my nose. The window was fogged from the inside, but through the blur I saw my own reflection, and beside it, the doll's. Only its face wasn't the same. It was paler, longer. Its eyes seemed wet, alive, almost moving beneath the glass. I blinked. The reflection didn't. My fingers brushed the frame. Cold metal, trembling faintly. When I pressed against the glass, it shivered, as if something beneath was breathing. Behind me, the attic whispered. A small rustle. Fabric against fabric. I turned. Nothing. Just the old rocking chair, the empty shelves, the same thin ribbon of light. But my pulse didn't slow, because the air behind me felt different now. Heavier. When I looked back at the window, the doll's reflection was closer. Too close. It was standing right beside my shoulder, but only in the glass. I couldn't feel it there. Yet I knew if I reached back, my hand might touch something soft. Something small, with fingers colder than mine. A quiet hum began, low, almost like someone humming through the walls. It slid beneath my skin, made the fine hairs on my arms rise. I whispered, "You weren't there." The words fell flat, swallowed by the attic silence. Even my voice felt wrong, softer, thinner, like it didn't belong to me anymore. The reflection shifted again. The doll's head turned toward me in the glass, slow and stiff. Its painted lips parted just slightly, and my reflection smiled back, only I wasn't smiling. I stepped back, heart stumbling. The boards behind me groaned, and a shadow rippled to the corner of the room. Something brushed my ankle. Not hard, just enough to make me freeze. A thread? A strand of hair? No, I didn't look down. I couldn't. The humming grew sharper now. A high, thin note that seemed to come from inside my chest. The mirror's surface trembled with each beat of my heart. And then, for just a second, I saw it. Not me, not the doll, but something pale, standing behind both of us in the reflection. A shape with no eyes, just light where a face should be. I stumbled back, knocking over a small box of toys. They rolled across the floor in soft clatters. The attic exhaled a long, slow breath that wasn't mine. When I looked again, the glass was still. Just me, just the doll, quiet beside the window. The pale thing was gone. But the light outside had changed. It wasn't evening anymore. It looked like fog. Like everything beyond the window had turned to white. The doll's eyes caught it, that colorless glow. And for a heartbeat, I thought I saw something move behind them. A ripple, a blink. I turned away. The air felt wrong, like static before a storm. Every hair on my arm stood up as I moved toward the stairs. Halfway down, I heard it. A faint tap on the window above. Once. Then again. When I looked back up, the attic doorway was black. But something pale was standing just beyond it. Too tall to be the doll. Too still to be human. I didn't breathe until I reached the bottom step. Later that night, I walked past the hallway mirror, and I froze again, because there in the reflection, over my shoulder, was the doll. Not on the attic floor, not in the glass upstairs. Behind me, its head tilted the same way. Its eyes, pale, glistening, fixed on mine. I turned around. The hall was empty, but the air was holding its breath, and the reflection was still smiling. The house breathes differently at night. It exhales through the cracks in the wood, and the floorboards murmur beneath my feet. I shouldn't be up here. The attic has been closed for years, ever since the ceiling began to sag, and the boards began to whisper. But the noise came again tonight. A long, drawn-out creak, like someone pacing just above my room. Now, I stand beneath the open hatch. Cold air leaks down from the dark. It smells like rotten dust, and something faintly sweet, like wilted flowers left too long in a vase. I climb. Each rung trembles under my hand. When I reach the top, the moonlight filters through a broken vent, painting long, pale bars across the floor. And there, at the far end, a doll sits slumped against a chest. Its dress is gray with dust. Its glass eyes catch the light like something waking. I take a step forward. The floorboard sighs beneath me, slow, deliberate. Then a small thud behind me. I freeze. The air changes. I can feel it pressure my chest, like the whole attic just took a breath. I glance back. Nothing moves, only dust drifting lazily, as if disturbed by a hand I can't see. Another step, another creak. This time, the wood bends lower, like something heavy just shifted beneath it. The doll's head tilts slightly. Or maybe it was my imagination, but its gaze, it follows. I whispered myself that it's just a trick of light, just glass and shadow. Still, I can't look away. I kneel to pick it up. Its porcelain skin is cold, colder than the air. Something flakes off, old paint, maybe, or dry glue. Then, from behind the chest, a faint rustle, like cloth dragging. I set the doll down. Its head turns again. Softly, a click of porcelain on wood. I step back. The board beneath me gives another long, trembling creak. It echoes around the room, then dies too quickly as if swallowed. There's something on the floor. I can hear it now, not moving, just breathing. A slow inhale, a slower exhale. I press my hand to the wood. It's warm. The boards begin to tremble, not from my touch, but from something moving beneath them. It slides past my palm, dragging through dust and splinters. The sound is wet, almost curious. I back toward the ladder, but the creaking follows me, step for step. A rhythm perfectly matched to mine. I stop. It stops. The attic feels smaller now. The moonlight looks dimmer. I can't tell if I'm hearing the boards or my own heartbeat. Then, a whisper of air across my ankle. Light breath. I drop to my knees and stare into cracks. Darkness stares back. Something glistens between the seams. A thin, pale shape, curling, recoiling, then slipping away. The boards creak again. Right beneath me. The doll's head has turned completely. It faces the hatch. Faces me. I don't remember leaving. One moment, I was kneeling. The next, the ladder was swaying beneath my feet. I climbed down too fast. My hands bled where splinters tore through my skin. But even now, standing in the hall, I can still hear it. That slow, uneven creak above me. Not random. Not the wind. It waits until the house goes still. Until the lights go out. Then it starts again, one board at a time, following the same path I took across the attic floor. And when it stops, the silence feels wrong. Like something is listening, just on the other side of the wood. Sometimes, late at night, the ceiling groans above my bed. A small shift, then stillness. I hold my breath, counting each second, praying the next creak doesn't come closer. But it always does. Slower, heavier, patient, like it remembers exactly where I stood. The attic feels impossibly still. The kind of stillness that hums in your ears, like the air itself is waiting to breathe. I can see the dust floating in the pale moonlight, each speck moving too slowly, as if time is thickening around me. The doll has moved again, closer than before, its glass eyes catching the light, unblinking, watching. I don't remember leaving it there. It used to sit by the far window, facing the garden, its painted lips curved in a faint, cracked smile. Now it rests by the attic door, head tilted, as though it turned to listen. My breath feels heavy in my chest. The air smells of old wood and something faintly sweet, like rot hidden beneath perfume. I take a step back, and the floor sighs beneath my weight. A long, slow creak that fades into silence too quickly. Somewhere behind the walls, a faint tapping begins, irregular, soft, like fingernails brushing from the inside. It moves left to right, then stops behind me. I don't turn. I can feel it, something standing in the dim space just beyond sight, not close enough to see, but near enough that I can sense its breath pressing against my neck. The attic window trembles. Outside, branches sway against the roof, scratching like whispers written in wood. I whisper to myself, just to hear a voice, even my own. But the moment I speak, the tapping stops. The silence after is unbearable. Too sharp, too full. I move toward the small light bulb string hanging from the ceiling. It sways gently, though there's no wind here. My fingers tremble as I reach for it. The bulb flickers once, twice, then dies. The dark folds around me like fabric, thick, heavy, warm from the breath of something unseen. I can still see the doll's outline, a paler patch in the dark. Its head seems lower now, chin tilted toward its chest, as if nodding to something behind it. Then I hear it, the faintest scrape, porcelain on wood. It's moving. I step backward, try not to make a sound, but the boards groan, and in the pause that follows, I hear another step. Not mine. Slow, measured, dragging slightly. The air feels alive now. It hums with presence, like static before storm. I can taste metal on my tongue. The attic smells sharper, like dust stirred after years of sleep. Then a soft breath, right beside my ear. It doesn't sound like an exhale, more like a sigh held too long, escaping after decades of silence. I freeze, and in that stillness, something brushes my sleeve. A light touch, almost kind, but cold. I take another step back, and my heel hits the top of the attic stairs. The wooden edge bites into my skin through my sock. I don't dare move. From the dark ahead, two faint glimmers appear. Eyes, not glass, not human. They blink once, slowly, and when they open again, they're closer. The tapping starts again, not from behind the walls this time, but from the floor. All around me, a pattern, a rhythm, like something counting. The doll's head twitches. A soft click in the dark. And when lightning flashes outside, just for a second, I see it, standing behind the doll. Tall, shadows stretch the ceiling. Its face where the light should be. Blank. When the flash fades, it's gone. But the doll is lying on its side now, arms outstretched, fingers pointing toward the door. I don't remember moving, but my hand is already on the knob. The metal is ice against my palm. I turn it slowly, try not to breathe, and the hinges whisper open, just enough for me to slip through. Behind me, the tapping stops again. Then one last sound, a soft, deliberate shuffle, closer to the doorway. Then still, I look back just once. In the thin slice of moonlight from the window, I see the attic again, empty. The doll sits upright now, back in its place by the window, facing out, watching the garden. Only now, its reflection in the glass. It isn't alone. A pale shape stands behind it, motionless, head tilted toward the moon. I close the door quietly, and I never go back up there again. But every night, from the room below, I hear that faint tapping, inside the walls, following the same rhythm, counting down. I swear I left the attic door shut. I remember the sound it made, the soft click would against frame, that quiet certainty, the kind that settles you before bed. But now, it hangs slightly open, just enough for a breath of cold air to spill through. The light from the hallway cuts a thin line across the floorboards. Dust drifts in it like falling ash. It's too still, too quiet. The doll sits at the end of the hallway. The same one I tucked away in the attic months ago. Porcelain face, cracked near the eye, dressed stiff with age. It shouldn't be here. I blink, waiting for my eyes to adjust. The air feels thin, like the house is holding its breath. There's a faint sigh from the dark, soft, almost human, like someone exhaling behind the door. I take a step back. The floor groans. Something shifts above me, slow, deliberate. I can hear the whisper of movement through the boards, the kind that makes your skin prickle before your mind understands. I whisper to myself that I'm imagining it. Old houses breathe. Wood expands. Nothing more. But the doll, it's turned now, just slightly. Its glass eyes no longer face the stairs. They face me. My throat tightens. I can smell dust, wood, and something faintly sweet, like old perfume, the kind my mother used to wear. The attic was hers once. Another breath escapes from the gap in the door, longer this time. I feel it brush my cheek, a cold that doesn't belong. I want to close the door. I want to seal it again and forget, but my feet won't move. It's like the air around me is thickened, holding me in place. The silence hums, a low vibration under the walls. I can almost hear words inside it, familiar, but warped, like someone trying to speak through water. I step closer. The floor tilts beneath my weight. The door moves, not closing, opening. A rush of stale air spills out. Something shifts in the black. I don't see it, but I feel it. That weight, that awareness, like eyes press against the dark. My hand lifts without permission, fingers trembling, reaching for the doorknob. It's cold, colder than metal should be, colder than winter. I stop breathing, listening. There's a faint scraping sound, a soft dragging, just beyond the threshold. Not footsteps, more like fabric sliding against wood. The doll is closer now, its head tilted, a hairline cracked, tracing its smile. I whisper again, a useless sound that vanishes into the air. Every part of me says, don't look inside. But the attic waits, patient, silent. A shadow shifts, long and uneven. It stretches down the stairs toward me. My body reacts before my mind does. I stumble back, heart thudding against my ribs. The door creaks wider. Something unseen exhales. And for the briefest second, I smell that perfume again. Sweet, faded, and wrong. I close my eyes. I remember that night, the last time I saw her up there. The light bulb swaying. Her whisper saying, don't come back here. I didn't listen. And now, the door I never closed is open again. The air moves once more, a gentle stir, like someone stepping closer. I open my eyes. The shadow is gone. The doll lies on its side, face toward the stairs. Silence folds around everything. Thick, breathless. I reach forward and push the door shut. It resists for a moment, as if something leans against it from the other side. Then it gives. The latch catches. Click. The house exhales with me. Stillness returns. But as I turn to leave, I feel it. That faint draft again. Cold air spilling through the thin line of the frame. The door isn't fully closed. The attic window glows again tonight. A thin, pale shimmer, barely there, like something breathing behind the glass. It shouldn't be on. There's no bulb up there. No electricity since the storm. Still flickers, soft, reluctant, like a dying pulse. I stand at the bottom of the stairs, bare feet pressing into the cold wood. Every board remembers my weight. Every breath seems too loud. The air smells like dust and rain. And something older, something sweet like rotting flowers. When I finally move, the light changes. It hums, quiet, nervous, almost like it's waiting. I take another step, and another. The flicker stutters, as if warning me. My hand trails the wall. The wallpaper feels damp, peeling. The seams crumble under my fingertips. Halfway up, I notice the shadows. They don't follow the rhythm of the light. They move slower, like they're thinking. One leans toward me, then pulls back. I freeze. The bulb in my hand was supposed to be dead, but in the faint glow above, almost feels warm. The attic door is closed. It never used to be. When I reach the handle, the flickering stops. Complete stillness. Not even the whisper of wind. Only my breath. And the faint creak beneath my toes. For a moment, I think maybe it's over. Just a trick of reflection. The moon through the branches. The glass catching clouds. But then the light returns. Brighter. Alive. It spills through the cracks of the door. A pale shimmer crawling across my wrist. It feels cold, like ice moving under my skin. Something inside shifts. The floor above creaks. Slow, dragging weight. I whisper to myself not to open it, but my fingers don't listen. The door groans and a breath of stale air sighs out. It tastes like dust and metal, like a room that's been waiting. The glow pulses, once, twice, then holds steady. It's coming from the far corner, beneath the slanted beams. A small table sits there, covered in cobwebs, and on it, the doll, the same one my mother used to keep locked in the chest. Its hair is matted with time, dressed gray with dust, but the eyes are wide open, catching every flicker, reflecting it back too bright, too alive. The shadows behind it shift again, bending wrong. Their edges blur and twist, like something breathing in the walls. I want to look away, but the light draws me closer. Each step feels heavy, like walking underwater. The boards sigh beneath me, soft and wet. When I'm close enough to see my reflection in the doll's glassy eyes, the glow steadies. I see myself, and behind me, nothing, but I can feel it. A weight in the air, a slow inhale that isn't mine. The attic hums, a low vibration deep in the floor. The shadows pull long, stretching toward my feet. Then silence, the kind that presses against the ears, like the world holding its breath. The doll's head tilts, just slightly, enough for the light to catch its face in a new way. The smile looks sharper now. Something inside me breaks. I step back, knocking into a box, sending the echo tumbling through the room. The light flickers faster, like it's panicking. The shadows stutter. They scatter, then rush toward the corners. I can't tell if I'm breathing. The glow fades to a dim pulse. One last flicker, then black. For a heartbeat, the world feels normal again. Only darkness, only silence. But when my eyes adjust, I see them. Tiny streaks of light, tracing along the cracks in the floorboards. Moving, searching. They gather beneath the doll, pooling like liquid glass. It hums again, soft, gentle, like a lullaby played backward. My name forms in the air, not spoken, but felt, pressed into my chest. I step back toward the door, but it won't open. The wood is cold, damp. The glow rises again, stronger this time. It spills down the walls, lighting every shape, every corner. The shadows are gone, but the doll, it's standing. Its porcelain feet balanced perfectly on the edge of the table. Head tilted, eyes still shining. The light flares, so bright it burns white. I close my eyes, but I still see it, etched behind my lids. When I open them again, the room is dark, completely still. The doll lies on the floor, face down. The glow is gone. I leave the attic door open. I don't go back. But sometimes, when the rain starts and the wind hums through the roof, I see it again, that faint, flickering glow breathing softly behind the glass. It started with the hum. Low, steady, almost like it was underneath everything. At first, I thought it was the pipes again. Old houses make their own kind of music, the kind that keeps you awake when everything else is asleep. But this felt alive. It came up through the floorboards, vibrating against my feet, like the house was breathing beneath me. The doll sat across the room, right where I'd left it, on the wooden chair, by the window that never quite closed all the way. Its glass eyes caught the weak light from the hallway, pale, glinting, unblinking. There was dust on its dress, but none on its face. The hum grew stronger. It wasn't loud, but it filled the air, a sound you felt more than heard. Thick, heavy, almost wet. I pressed my hand to the floor. It trembled under my palm, like something moving deep below the wood, something crawling upward. The shadows in the corners began to shift. They stretched with a rhythm, swaying softly, almost dancing. The air grew warm, then cold, then still again. I could taste dust, and something faintly metallic, like blood in the back of my throat. The hum slipped between tones, low then higher. It carried a shape, a rhythm, almost like words that didn't need to be spoken. I leaned closer, the doll's head tilted, just slightly. My chest tightened. The hum pressed against me, inside my ribs, behind my eyes, each vibration heavier than the one before. And then I heard it, a name, soft, dragged through the hum like a whisper underwater. I couldn't make it out, but it felt familiar. Another hum followed, another name, each one slower, each one closer. The shadows along the walls pulsed with every sound. They didn't fall the way light should make them. They swayed, independent, like they were waiting for something. The doll's lips were parted now, just enough to see the black space inside. And I swear the hum came from there. I stood, or tried to. My legs felt wrong, too light, too far away. The air clung to me, thick and trembling. The floor moved, not shaking, breathing. The boards rose and fell, slow and steady, like lungs beneath me. I took one step back. The hum deepened. It rolled through the walls, up through the ceiling, out into the night. And somewhere inside that sound, a word I hadn't heard in years. My name. The shadows leaned toward me, every corner of the room pulling tighter. The light above me flickered once, then steadied. The doll's eyes gleamed brighter now, not reflecting, but glowing. A pale, milky light from within. The hum broke for a second. A pause, a breath, then silence. I stood there waiting. The air didn't move. Even the clock had stopped. Then, just once, the hum started again. Quiet, almost kind. It came from behind me this time. I turned. Nothing. Just a long, dark hallway. But the shadows there didn't wait for light to shape them. They were already moving, slowly, swaying, like something was walking toward me, just out of sight. The hum rose, vibrating through the walls again, through my spine, through the bones in my face. Every breath came out in shivers. I wanted to scream, but the hum swallowed my voice before it ever left my throat. The doll had fallen forward now, face down, arms stretched out, pointing toward me. And all around, the shadows moved in rhythm, not closer, not farther, just there, humming, waiting. I closed my eyes. The sound sank deep into me, below thought, below fear. It felt like remembering, a voice without a mouth, a name without a body, a hum that knew me. When I opened my eyes again, the room was still, the floor was cold, and the doll sat upright once more. The silence felt heavier than the sound ever did. I could still feel it, though, under my feet, behind the walls, inside the quiet, waiting to hum again. The house is quieter tonight. Even the wind feels like it's holding its breath. I shouldn't be here. Not after what happened last winter. But I couldn't stay away. The attic door had been painted shut for years, thick layers of dust sealing it, like the house itself wanted it closed. When I finally pried it open, the air that came out wasn't stale. It was warm, like something had been waiting, breathing softly, just beyond the wood. I told myself it was nothing. That old air settled strange. That sounds echo in empty places. But I kept hearing it. A whisper. My name. Right where the darkness began. At first, I thought it came from outside, from the trees brushing against the roof. But it didn't fade with the wind. It grew clearer, closer. The attic light flickered once, then went out completely. I stood there in the pitch dark, listening to the silence break itself. Something moved, slow and deliberate, like fabric dragging across wood. And then that whisper again, right beside me this time. My hand brushed against something soft. Porcelain, cold. When the light flickered back on, it was sitting there, a small doll, its head tilted toward the door. I don't remember bringing it here. No one does. But I've seen it before. Years ago, when I was small, it used to sit at the threshold of my old room, always facing outward, like it was guarding me, or watching what came in. Its glass eyes were cracked now, and its dress was gray with dust. But the smile, that painted little smile, was still there. I crouched, and the floorboards moaned beneath my knees. A faint hum buzzed through the air, low and steady, like the attic had a heartbeat. I whispered, "Why are you here?" The silence didn't answer, but the light did, flickering twice, once for yes and again. Behind me, the shadows rippled across the walls, stretching too long, too far, until they touched the edges of the ceiling. Shapes began to form, bent figures, pale outlines shifting in and out of view. I couldn't breathe. The air was thick, heavy, smelling faintly of dust and iron. The doll leaned forward, just a little, enough for me to hear it. A faint exhale, a whisper pressed between its tiny teeth. My name. I stumbled back, hitting the beam behind me. The whole attic seemed to pulse, with creaking, light trembling, whispers layering over one another like static. I covered my ears, but I could still hear it, not from outside, from inside the walls. I don't know how long I stood there. Minutes, maybe hours, until the whispers thinned, fading into a slow, rhythmic breath. That's when I realized it. The attic wasn't just a room anymore. It was awake, and it was listening. The air trembled as I took a step back. Dust fell from the rafters, drifting like ash. I reached the door, but it wouldn't move. The handle was ice cold, and beneath the door frame, the doll sat again. It had moved, its head now turned toward me. That same faint smile, but its eyes were wet, a thin, glistening sheen like it had been crying. A whisper slipped through the room, not for my name this time. Just a word, soft, pleading. Stay. Every muscle in my body locked. The attic groaned. Something shifted in the rafters above, a slow dragging, like something heavy crawling just beyond sight. I could see movement, the shadows twitching, curling around the corners of the room, like smoke trying to take form. I whispered back, barely audible, "No." And then silence. Everything stopped. The hum, the whisper, even the air itself. The light flickered one last time, and in that heartbeat of brightness, I saw them. Figures, dozens of them, pressed against the walls. Faces turned toward me, blank, gray, mouths open in a perfect, soundless cry. Then the bulb burst. Glass rained down in tiny sparks. Darkness swallowed everything. I don't remember running. Only the thud of my steps, the echo of my breath, and the faint scrape of something following behind. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, the whisper stopped. Just like that. I turned once. The attic door hung half open, blackness spilling out like smoke. And on the top step, the doll, still sitting at the threshold, still smiling. It hasn't moved since. But sometimes, late at night, when the house settles and the world goes quiet, I hear it again, that soft, steady whisper, the one that knows my name. And I remember, some doors are meant to stay open, but once they are, they never really close.